They thought America was sleeping, highways glowing, suburbs quiet, a normal night across the homeland. But from 30,000 feet, the view was a lie. Beneath that calm surface, engines were warming, radios coming alive, agents locking rounds into chambers. In 12 cities, unmarked vehicles rolled out at the same moment. No sirens, no warning, just a synchronized ignition of a federal storm. 2 years of surveillance, wiretaps, and silent tailing had boiled down to this one night. The mission was brutal in its simplicity. Choke off the fentanyl pipeline, killing nearly 100,000 Americans every year. Not on the streets, not at the borders, but inside the supply chain itself. Because tonight was not about chasing dealers. It was about cracking the system that fed them. And the strike that was coming would redraw the entire map. The order did not come from a field office. It came from the very top. A presidential directive, stamped urgent, rerouted the entire federal apparatus toward one target: fentanyl. For the first time in over a decade, the FBI dispatched senior officials to Beijing, walking straight into the Ministry of Public Security for a conversation no one expected to ever happen again. Behind closed doors, the message was not diplomatic. It was blunt, strategic, and cold. Washington declared fentanyl a national security threat, placing it in the same category as terrorism and cyber warfare. The United States demanded that Beijing shut down the precursor pipeline bleeding into American cities. Not later, not eventually. Now. China listened, politely. But polite was not compliance. Intelligence analysts back home flagged the pattern immediately. The chemical shipments continued unchanged. No slowdown, no hesitation, no sign of restraint, which meant Washington had to escalate. So the decision was made, quietly and unanimously. The United States would not chase pills on the street. It would strike the supply chain at the source. That meant targeting the chemical flows leaving Chinese factories, the shadow financiers behind them, and the American intermediaries who made the deadly exchanges possible. This was no longer law enforcement, it was economic warfare. And the strike package was just beginning to assemble. It started with something so small it should have vanished in the noise. A pallet labeled laboratory reagents, arriving on a clear midday flight from Shanghai. Routine, legal, forgettable. But at O'Hare International Airport, routine does not exist. CBP officers trained to read anomalies the way surgeons read scans spotted a density profile in the X-ray that did not match the paperwork. So they pulled the shipment, opened a single drum, ran a field test. The strip turned bright blue, positive for fentanyl precursors. That lone drum triggered a chain reaction. The sample jumped to CBP headquarters, then to FBI Cincinnati. Within hours, senior agents convened a classified briefing and activated a dormant investigation known by one code name, Box Cutter. The strategy behind Box Cutter was ruthless in its clarity. Do not pull packages, the lead agent said. Cut the entire conveyor belt. That meant watching the shipment, not seizing it, mapping every buyer, every distributor, every crypto wallet, every chemical vendor behind the paperwork. The Chicago drum was not evidence. It was a key to a factory on the other side of the Pacific and a pipeline that fed pain into dozens of American cities. Box Cutter was no longer theoretical. It was live. Once FBI analysts began pulling threads, the picture expanded fast. Too fast. Every shipment traced back to the same group of exporters in mainland China. On paper, they were clean. Scientific suppliers, laboratory distributors, chemical wholesalers. But the manifests told a different story. 4 companies, all moving identical precursors. 4 intermediaries in Hong Kong receiving payments through anonymous wallets. And the destinations? Ohio, Georgia, Kentucky. The Midwest and the South regions already drowning under synthetic opioids. Financial forensics dug deeper. Money flowed through crypto tumblers, then into anonymous wallets, then finally into state-owned banks inside China. Roughly $60,000 a month per distributor, enough precursor to manufacture millions of lethal doses. A DEA analyst put it best during a secure teleconference. They are not selling drugs. They are selling the power to mass produce them. The network was elegant in its simplicity. Chinese chemical companies exported precursors under scientific exemptions. American middlemen received them in garages and storage units. Cartels bought the powders, pressed them into pills, and unleashed them across the country. It was not a cartel. It was a supply chain. And to break it, the United States needed to strike every link at once. The surprising part was not the Chinese companies. It was the Americans hiding in plain sight. Eric Payne looked like a warehouse supervisor. No flashy cars, no criminal tattoos, nothing alarming. But his logistics roots told a darker story. Every precursor arriving from the Pacific passed through his hands before being redistributed to cartel-aligned pill mills across the Midwest. Then there was Orion Rafford, a quiet man in a quiet neighborhood. His garage served as a covert storage depot where incoming chemicals were repacked, relabeled, and shipped out. At night, he transferred crypto profits to wallets linked to Chinese suppliers. Neighbors waved at him during morning walks. No one suspected that behind two ordinary garage doors, an invisible umbilical cord stretched from a chemical plant in China to the front steps of American families. A pipeline of death, disguised as everyday life. The contrast was cinematic. Middle-class homes, children's bikes, fresh-cut grass, and inside, boxes containing enough poison to wipe out entire cities. These were not kingpins. They were nodes essential, replaceable, and invisible. And Box Cutter was about to remove them all in a single night. At 11 p.m. sharp, one encrypted message hit every tactical team. Box Cutter is go. Execute. And the country moved. In Ohio, FBI teams breached Payne's distribution hub. Night vision goggles. Flashbangs. A flood of agents pouring into a pill press facility disguised as a maintenance warehouse. Hazmat units followed, neutralizing containers of hypertoxic chemicals. In Atlanta, cyber agents stormed a crypto-laundering server farm, pulling live wallets offline before operators could wipe anything. Digital signatures were seized in real time, freezing millions. In New York, agents raided a storage facility masquerading as a scientific archive. False manifests, forged import licenses, drums of precursor powders stored a few feet from office furniture. And while tactical teams moved on the ground, the digital front lit up. Treasury analysts froze over $3 million linked to Chinese suppliers. Blockchain forensics erased multiple crypto wallets, severing every financial artery feeding the chemical pipeline. By dawn, the numbers spoke for themselves. 29 indicted, 22 Chinese nationals, 3 Americans. The rest, intermediaries. 4 Chinese chemical companies charged with international narcotics trafficking. Hundreds of kilograms of precursor seized enough to produce tens of millions of deadly doses. The message echoed from Washington. They never had to enter the United States. We reached them anyway. The victory in Ohio was historic, but no one inside the Bureau was celebrating. Not really, because everyone understood the truth. This was only the opening battle of a war that would stretch across continents, currencies, and technologies. Cartels will find new suppliers. New shell companies will rise in Asia. Crypto channels will mutate. Fake scientific paperwork, supercharged by artificial intelligence, will try to cloak the next wave. But the precedent had been set. America hit the supply chain at home and abroad and proved it could cut every link at once. The Department of Justice said it plainly. The cartels manufacture, China supplies, and we just severed the line. This is only the beginning. And if you want to follow every step of this unfolding fight, make sure you subscribe, hit the notifications, and stay with us. The next chapter is already moving.